Always a favourite on every rural road. Hyundai Country Calendar.
We asked ourselves the question of how much food can be grown on a small space.
A couple with a dream and their own values.
Small-scale farming is actually a better approach.
And now they have something to be proud of.
And we're making the best salad ever. It just screams eat me and it screams nutrition.
Yotam and Nea are specialists in permaculture.
The three ethics of permaculture, which is earth care, people care and fair share.
They've created a market garden in the Koiranga Valley near Thames. Using permaculture principles, they aim to take a staggering $100,000 worth of produce off their 1,000 square metre gardens this year.
In the beginning, we wanted to know what is possible to grow on a quarter acre. We didn't know what is the volume we can do. We didn't know what the gross sales are. And then we learned from our counterparts in the US and Canada that it is possible. And if they can do it, we can do it.
Yotam and Nea are both Israeli, although Yotam's grandfather moved to Israel from Auckland.
I grew up with a very politically conscious family. One grandma was a judge in Israel and the other established two NGOs that helped Palestinians with their problems and made huge change and worked a lot in Palestine and the West Bank.
The direction of Yotam's life was changed by a suicide bomber.
When I was 18, I went to Sinai for a holiday with friends, and a few days into our holiday there was a suicide attack, a suicide bomber that detonated a bomb in the place where we were.
Although he wasn't injured, Yotam didn't come out unscathed.
I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and I had to take time to take things easy, and I wanted to find something close to nature.
That led Yotam to take environmental studies at university, where he met Nea.
We've learned during that year about the difference between big monoculture and agribusiness and what's possible to do with biointensive and permaculture and grow in a way that's actually beneficial for the earth.
I wanted to walk what I preach. I didn't want to talk about solutions without doing them, living them. So being farmers, it was a real occupation that we can both fulfill our dreams and live the way we want to live and create meaningful change.
Yotam and Nea travelled the world looking for a safe place to raise their daughters. They found it here. A chance meeting with organic farmer and ex-Green Party leader Jeanette Fitzsimons and her partner Harry Park led them to buying a share in Pakaraka Farm.
We've always known that there would come a time with old age when we couldn't manage this property on our own. We didn't expect it to be so soon. We thought maybe at around 80, but then both of us have got quite serious arthritis problems and we don't intend to ever leave here.
Yeah, there's even the odd...
Over 25 years, Jeanette and Harry had turned a rundown sheep and beef runoff of 250 hectares into a thriving organic farm with olives, nut trees, sheep and beef. Initially, Yotam and Nea came just to help out.
So we had a year's trial and got on really well, and then they bought 50% of the whole caboodle and set up their market garden. This is one of the two motu.
Yotam and Nea brought more than green credentials to the partnership.
Good practical skills, which for me was really important. Yotam could hold a hammer and bang a nail in and it would go in. He could dig a hole for a post and it would be right. I wouldn't have to go back and correct it all. So that was a really important thing for me, and it still is.
Hey, how high can you go, Dina? Little monkey.
They're actually really lovely, warm people that we bonded with quite soon. It wasn't that hard to get to know them, different culture, different language, different background, but we just clicked.
The two couples shared a vision of a better world.
Oh, totally. Green values, environmental values, and they're hard workers. And we respect people that work hard because we always used to when we could.
With hard work Yotam and Nea took $80,000 off their market garden last year. This year, they aim for over 100,000. On Pakaraka, every day is harvest day, and to help out, they have students who learn while they're working.
If we wait a few more days, we can do it with the greens cut harvester all at once. Many of our clients get our produce on the same day that it was harvested, and the latest they get it the next day. So we harvest as much as we can. We harvest early in the morning, get the temperatures really low, get all the field heat out, and then send it as quickly as we can, depending on the carriers. About half of our produce gets to Thames, and about half of our produce gets to Auckland.
Their edible flowers are much in demand from restaurants.
So these edible flowers, these ones are violas, and they're awesome because they're actually really good for you, and also they taste nice and they're beautiful.
Their approach to growing is highly intensive.
We try and get the most out of each growing area, and we do that by making sure that all of our beds are all the time occupied. So when we finished harvesting a crop, we try and get the next crop in as quickly as possible. Sometimes it would be the same day, usually it's within a week. It depends on where the bed is. On our flatter area, we do a really high rotation of crops. We could have up to 8 crops a season in the same bed. We asked ourselves the question of how much food can be grown on a small space, and we've answered it. We have been reliably growing over 8 tons of produce a season, and we're not focusing on high weight crops. It's just what happens when we grow. This is a greens cut harvester, and this helps us harvest greens efficiently and quickly, helps save our backs when we're harvesting. We can harvest 7 to 10 times faster using this tool.
Yotam and Nea will harvest 2 tons of salad greens off their quarter-acre garden this year.
We're making the best salad ever. It's a mixture of baby leaf lettuce, baby leaf mesclun, which means basically different mustard greens and beet leaves, and microgreens added to them as well. So it's a fine leaf salad of the best quality. We're super proud making it. We triple wash them and air dry them, so our salads last for 2 weeks after they've been cut. Having a cool room is a basic component of a successful market garden. It was just insane working without it for the first couple of seasons, and yeah, it changes the game.
The property is off-grid. With no mains electricity, they needed to produce their own, so they used crowdfunding to pay for a solar system.
With that power, we can run the cool room pretty much throughout the year. And whenever the sun shines for more than 3 or 4 hours a day, then we can also charge our car that we use for deliveries.
But solar-generated electricity isn't the only green power on the farm. On their market garden in the Koiranga Valley near Thames, Yotam K and his wife Nea make the most of solar energy.
This is a box-type solar cooker, and we can use it for many months of the year to cook our lunch, to cook our kai. With 1 to 2 hours of sunlight, we can cook chicken, we can cook fish, we can cook rice. With 3 to 4 hours, we can cook potatoes, we can cook bread. With 5 to 6 hours, we can cook roasts and large soups, and yeah, all by the power of the sun. On a sunny day, this will reach well over 100 degrees Celsius. Today, with a bit of the cloudy weather, we've got about 80 degrees. Oh, this is too hot.
And if the sun's hiding, Yotam has another way of cooking.
This is a biodigester that takes kitchen waste or animal manure and ferments it, creates methane gas for cooking and fertilizer to use in the garden. Very simple, very efficient, up to 3 hours of cooking gas a day. We put food waste or manure mixed with water in the funnel, and it goes to the bottom chamber, which anaerobic digestion creates methane gas, and then that flows into the top compartment. There's weight sandbags on the top to weigh it down and compress the gas. It's hooked up to the stove behind me, and simple as that. It was a dream having this unit, another way to get off petroleum, so we don't need to be hooked up to the LPG bottles. I mean, we'll still have it for backup, but I think we can use this for 6 to 8 months of the year easily.
It's out with the old and in with the new. To get 8 tonnes of produce off this garden in a season, Yotam has a new crop going in the moment an old one has finished. This crop of mustard greens is being replaced by carrots.
The way we can support so much production is by giving a lot, giving more than we're taking. So throughout the year, we put at least 2 applications of compost, so something like at least 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters of compost on every bed during the season. Besides compost and putting in a lot of organic matter, we had remineralized the soil, so we've done custom soil tests and had put in the minerals that the plants really need, not only the macronutrients but also the trace elements. We're trying to reduce the stress to our plants, so we're trying to get our plants to have the most wonderful life they could have, and we spoil them rotten.
The garden tools are powered by solar-charged batteries.
This is called a tilfer, and it's a drilled power cultivator. So it has tines that go to the depth of only 5 centimeters, so we're not inverting the layers of the soil. Plants love it, I love it, it makes my work so much easier.
One of the main principles of permaculture is to not disturb the soil by deep digging.
The topsoil is not all the same. Most of the soil life and most of the roots are concentrated on the top 10 centimeters. And if you constantly mix those in, you're really disturbing the soil biology from doing what you want it to be doing. So by keeping the layers intact and only by aerating with a fork, we're supporting a better soil structure.
The garden is not on an ideal site. Its slope means it needs terracing. It doesn't face north, and a big kahikatea tree shades it in winter.
Got an amazing kahikatea tree quite close to the gardens, but it does create a lot of shading, and even in summer, even though the crops get a full amount of sun, we can see them leaning away from the tree, although they're actually leaning south.
But on this property, the tree will stay.
We're not going to chop the tree down. We're going to keep the tree there. This is an amazing being, this tree, and I don't think we have the mandate to take it down. The tree deserves to be here.
The farm's co-owners, Harry Park and Jeanette Fitzsimons, also love trees, and these ones produce a cash crop.
Well, this is the chestnut harvest. It goes on for about 6 weeks every year between March and April. They drop from the trees, and if you're lucky, this prickly husk splits open and the nuts roll out. If they don't split open, you scuff them under your foot. And we weigh them, we sort them into decent size and small. The small ones go to the cattle. They're very nutritious cattle and sheep feed, which gets us through this awful autumn drought where we've got very little grass growth at the moment and a lot of stock that are getting a bit hungry. So they chase us all over the place for the chestnuts if we appear with a bucket.
Yes. How much do you think we have here?
A bit over 20 here, but there's a lot more over at the shed as well.
Jeanette has mixed feelings about these prickly nuts.
By the end of the season, I hate them, but I love the food. I make a fabulous French chestnut cake. That's a bit of a favourite. The hot roast chestnuts make a lovely accompaniment to whatever you're having for dinner. I love the trees. I think they're really beautiful, and I would be happy to pick up a lot less chestnuts, but I can't bear to waste good food, so we keep going. We used to make fabulous chestnut crumb and chestnut flour out of them, very nutritious food. But the new Food Act has basically put a stop to that because the compliance for a food safety certificate is just altogether too onerous. Not that we can't be safe, we always have been safe, but what they require in terms of paperwork, it's just not worth our while to do it, which is a shame because they're very nutritious food.
So when they're clean, we peel them and We use this Japanese peeler, and we would peel about 10 kilos for the market. At good speed, you can do something like 3 kilos an hour. We only choose the biggest ones to do this, so we're time efficient. Then we got this machine, and we just fell in love. If we could have peeled 3 kilos an hour with the Japanese peeler, now we can do about 30 kilos an hour with 2 people. 10 times faster. What can you ask for? Chestnuts are such a beautiful perennial crop, really sustainable carbohydrate source, and with this way of peeling, it's revolutionary. I think this could totally rival potatoes and maize and could be a really staple food crop for New Zealand.
Morning, Milky Way. What have you got for me this morning?
Jeanette Fitzsimons and Harry Park have owned Pakaraka Farm near Thames for 25 years.
Well, we have 2 house cows and we try and calve them 6 months apart, and we buy a foster calf, a 4-day-old calf from a dairy herd that would have gone to the works otherwise.
Come on then.
And we raise 2 calves off each cow. They've got plenty of milk for that and for us as well.
This cow's name has cosmic connotations.
The Milky Way was named by Harry's granddaughter when she was quite little. She was quite fascinated by the stars at that stage, and so the cow being the Milky Way she thought was a great joke, so she's been the Milky Way ever since.
It's not that she kicks, but she does put her foot in the bucket and it doesn't improve the flavour of the milk at all.
It's a lovely way to start the day, actually. It's almost like a meditation, as long as the cow's behaving.
Jeanette spent nearly 15 years in Parliament as co-leader of the Green Party.
This was one of the things that kept me sane when I was down there in the madhouse. I would come home for a couple of days, if I was lucky, at a weekend, and always milk the cow and do a little bit on the farm. I brought a lot of work home too, of course.
Okay, that'll do for today.
All right. It just provided an anchor, really, which made sense of what I was trying to do down there.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Jeanette and Harry run 50 polled Wiltshire ewes on their 250 hectares. Harry started life as a shearer.
I learnt to shear when I was about 18, and then for the next 20 odd years it was my main source of income. And then my back packed it in, so I went to university and got a degree in social science.
These days, Harry's sheep don't need shearing.
I've always vowed that I'd never pay someone to shear my sheep. So the only way around that when I couldn't do it anymore was to get self-shedding sheep. I still can shear the odd one, but it's a bit more difficult these days.
Every farm needs water, but Pakaraka Farm sometimes gets too much.
The Koironga River drains a huge catchment, and when it's in flood it carries more water than the Waikato, which is really hard to believe. And it has been known several times since we've been here to rise 5.5 metres overnight. It pours across our flat paddocks, and then all the drains that are taking this really heavy rainfall off 87 hectares of steep hillside can't get away. So we used to have our garden down there, and after we'd had 3 such floods, which covered the garden in 1 metre of water, we'd had 3 of those floods in 4.5 years, and said, we can't keep doing this. Climate change is going to make this worse, and it has been making it worse. So we moved the whole garden up the hill to where it was rockier and steeper, but safer.
We used to cover the seeds with more potting mix, but we stopped doing that because it's an unnecessary step.
Back in the garden, Yotam and Nea share their knowledge.
Neva and I have started teaching workshops in Israel, and now we teach a variety of homesteading workshops and organic market gardening workshops. And we've got people coming from all over New Zealand, from the South Island.
Yotam is guiding others, but he's also training competitors.
Both. Sharing the love. We're doing this out of love, and we've been educating ourselves how to do this in the best way we can, not so we can save it to ourselves, but that we can teach others and that others can do similarly, and we can change the food system.
Lily is one of 3 students who've signed on for a more intensive 3-month practical course in permaculture.
They are getting involved with every aspect of market gardening, and they can have a much higher rate of success when they start their own business.
Today, Lily is harvesting microgreens.
Microgreens are the leafy stage between a sprout and a baby leaf. We generally try our microgreens to be about 10 centimeters in height, more or less, depends on the variety. We used to grow about 20 different crops of microgreens, and now we do about 10 or 12, and we harvest them all together for what we call a rainbow microgreen mix, and that's just an extraordinary celebration of color and taste, and it just screams eat me, and it screams nutrition.
They sell their microgreens at farmers markets. On Saturdays in summer, Yotam runs their stall at the Thames Farmers Market. And on Sundays, it's Neva's turn at Clevedon in South Auckland.
It's a very busy day. I wake up at 5. It takes me half an hour to pack the car because I come with the electric car, which is quite small. And then I get here and I start sorting out. And you have a few regulars that like coming before the market starts.
Neva enjoys the personal contact.
I think part of the thing with the way the food system is now that everything is so separated. And this is creating relationships, and I really enjoy that.
Yotam and Neva feel privileged to have found their Garden of Eden.
It's amazing, this opportunity and being able to join the farm. And we really love Harry and Jeanette, so they're amazing people. So we're very, very fortunate.
That's a funny idea.
We feel like this is still the beginning. There is still so much more we can do from a small piece of land and the larger farm as a whole. Yeah, really looking forward to spending the rest of my life here and playing around with farming and permaculture.
Next time,
I do not want any person on this earth to go through the nightmare that we have.
she's a shepherd and a cowgirl. And she's encouraging young farmers to speak up about mental health.
It only takes one person to speak up about their black dog for a ripple effect to happen. It's been the most rewarding thing I think I've ever done in my life.
That's next time on Hyundai Country Calendar.
Country Calendar was brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.